So it was going to end up being a space where we had to do everything in one space, meaning the guests would be seated at the table. Flip. Well, or either not flip and they would be already seated at the table.
Gotcha.
Which would then, and I was going to sacrifice that. I wasn't necessarily going to get the aisle that I wanted.
She wanted the aisle.
Right.
She wanted the aisle. She wanted the aisle.
That's what the bride want. They want the train. They want all of that stuff.
To me, right? Yeah. And so, the country club, we looked at that. We were like, okay, And then again, we had a stellar designer. She can turn almost water into wine. Right? Okay. She can make anything look amazing. So I wasn't necessarily worried about that, but I knew that the timing that she needed.
Let me tell a story. Let me interrupt
about
you.
What?
About when. Let me tell you one thing real quick, Connie. I did a wedding at the venue. I'm not gonna call the venue out. It was in July of 2023.
Yep.
So the venue we booked, we put a deposit down. I did a wedding there.
Okay.
I'll never forget
ironically,
it.
After
during our time.
Oh.
First time he's ever done a wedding.
I did a wedding there. And I saw it, and I called Connie. I texted her first. She was out. She doesn't come to every wedding, but sometimes she used to come to the wedding just to see how it is. And I said, what did I say to you, Connie?
He said, babe, I'm a little nervous. And I was at brunch and I was like, what? Oh Lord, he's never nervous. He's not nervous.
I'm not nervous.
When he gets nervous.
So this was the venue y'all had chose.
We booked.
Now you shooting it.
I'm shooting
and
a
you
wedding
texting
there.
her saying,
I'm nervous.
I
don't think.
Wow.
I'm nervous.
And so I'm
6 months out. 6 months out from my wedding, bro.
Yeah.
6 months out.
I'm like when he said that, and I was with one of my family members, and I said, he nervous. We got a problem.
Yeah.
We have a problem.
Yeah, I don't get nervous about stuff.
Chip was nervous.
Because he's quick to say, and I'm like, oh no, this not. He's like, no, babe, it's gonna work. We're gonna make it work. We're gonna make it work. Yeah. When he said nervous, I was like, oh boy. So then, of course, I went there. I was planning to go anyway.
She came for the reception. And it was just how it flipped because it was a restaurant. And it was they had brunch and it was a Sunday and our wedding was on a Sunday, ironically, but our wedding was in the winter time and their wedding I did was in the summertime.
So their ceremony was outside.
Okay.
Their ceremony was outside, but I saw how they moved people out of this certain section where we were going to have the wedding and I saw how slow they were. And I just saw all these things in my head. It's like, you know what?
Go wrong.
This is not going to work. And I saw the timeline getting messed up.
Oh.
And I saw things being really late, and I saw it being real dark, and I saw here's a problem, and I want to say this to grooms and brides. Sometimes we look at these prices and we get mesmerized by the price. The Walmart low prices, and all the other add-ons, and then you just don't think about the time. Yeah, and you don't think about. Because if we chose that venue, where in the world were we taking our pictures? Because I took pictures with my couple at a venue, but it was outdoors.
Yeah.
It was in the summer.
So everybody that's listening, this Chip is a photographer. Well-known photographer, been doing a lot of weddings and all of that. He's telling you from a photographer's angle.
Yeah.
A lot of times when couples, when they book, when they book me or book somebody that I'm shooting with or something like that, you run into where am I going to take pictures at?
All the time.
Especially in the wintertime because it's going to be different. Because in the summertime, you can go outside. But in the wintertime, if you're at a venue, like where are you going to take these pictures
And it gets dark at what time? And our wedding starts at night.
Right.
Yeah,
it's no daylight.
Yep.
So if you don't know,
But the space, it was large enough. I mean, we had taken all our vendors there. I mean, the planner had gone, the decorator. She had it all lined, designed how she was going to do it. We were bringing in chairs. But the timing from them ending, because they weren't willing to, for example, if you book in the venue for a 5 o'clock event that day, they don't have any leeway to say, oh, we're going to stop a little early on Sundays because we have this. You only get the 2-3 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
That 3 hours would have never worked for what we got.
What we wanted. Now, for another wedding that didn't have all the stuff that Connie wanted and all the other things. So that's when I saw that in July and I shot a wedding there. Thank God I shot a wedding there.
Right.
We would have probably still fumbled that wedding. And I said, there's no way it can work. And she saw it. She didn't see the flip, not the flip, because it wasn't a flip in July. But she saw how it was, and then it was like, she co-signed on it.
It was
she
funny
flew over to that venue.
The photographers that were second shooting with him, when I got there, they were like, all he kept saying was, Connie not gonna like this. Connie is not gonna like this. She's not.
And my videographer, my second shooter was like, nope, Connie's not gonna like this.
And I even noticed when I walked in, all of their equipment was kind of in the foyer. There was no place to store that out of the way.
Yeah.
Like it was just so many things. I pay attention to a lot of detail that, I just
Bag.
don't like, I like things out of the way.
Think about light stands and photographer stuff
bags,
in a foyer of a venue.
where people are coming in and hanging up their coats. I mean, it just would not work for what we were doing.
Well, that's the kind of stuff that, being in the industry, both of you guys, you think about that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
You see that kind of stuff because like when I'm doing weddings, I hate when we, me or other photographers or second shooters or whoever, they take bags and they just leave the bag anywhere. I'm just like, bro, you gotta,
put it under a table,
move the bag
do
over
something
here
out the way.
because you want that stuff out of the way, because you want everything. Yeah, you don't want it to be in a shot, and you want everything to look as neat as possible for the couple.
For the couple,
because as the couple is coming in and their guests.
You don't want them to see
you don't want it just to be chaos. You got light stands and all kinds of stuff just everywhere. You want to have this stuff tucked away nice and neat or, over by
it
the
just
DJ
wasn't
booth.
storage in this particular venue.
So y'all had put down a deposit on this place.
Unfortunately. Not a large one.
So did you lose your deposit?
I'm repurposing the deposit.
Okay.
As we speak.
I got you.
For another. Actually, for do something for premature widow.
Okay.
He was gracious in that regard. He's like, use it for premature widow. So
Wonderful.
that's what we're gonna do.
That's good because other than that, you would lose
We would have lost it.
You would lose the deposit.
Yeah, we would have
So
lost
all
it.
the couples that's listening, make sure that you look at that when you are booking somewhere. That what's the refund policy or what
Is there a refund?
what can happen. Make sure you look at that kind of stuff. That's important.
Yeah.
So then after I saw that, and I saw it with the wedding one, I said, okay. And I think that we went, did we go to the bridal show or we didn't go to the bridal? We went to the bridal show.
Right.
And then I was like, okay.
So we started looking at other places and I said, we probably should look back at this hotel. And so he's like, I don't know. And so I had to, I had to sell it.
I was so against hotels because I was like, but they do the pricing and they going to charge me tax or liquor, gratuity, this, that,
but it was
that.
the package. It was the package.
Everything is
it's
baked
all
in.
inclusive. Everything to include the honeymoon suite. They give you the room for the ceremony, complimentary. Yeah. There was a room block, and we were in January. So, it was so perfect because a lot of our guests stayed at the hotel. All they had to do was get dressed and come downstairs. It was
we didn't have to get the photographer and the vendors to go to 3 different places. Don't you hate when you're shooting? Go, to the place, the hotel, then go to the church, then go to the reception. Then,
I didn't need transportation.
Places.
Because I checked in on Saturday, so I was already there. All I had to do was come downstairs. So I didn't need a limo. We didn't need a car. We didn't need any of those things that would have added on to the other price. Because at one point I was like, okay, I'm just gonna have to apples and oranges this thing. And when I did, and he saw that number, and in this number, I'm like, so do we really want to look back and say for $5,000?
Yeah.
We made this decision as opposed to this decision.
And as much as he not hate hotel weddings,
I didn't hate hotels.
He's just against them,
right?
Because he's grew up in the wedding industry,
I have,
and so.
But he had to. And there was a point, and still where he had to admit, that it was absolutely the best decision.
And our venue designer, decor person, absolutely was in with the hotel where we're at Hotel University of Maryland College Park.
So she's their person.
Yeah.
So
it was like RJ and the makeup artist. Everything clicked.
Right.
The minute I told my salesperson who I was using to design the wedding, she was ecstatic.
Yeah. Right.
She's like, oh, they gave her the whole day to set up.
Yeah.
Normally, it's 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah.
No, because she's their person and she's their preferred vendor.
Relationships. So that just goes to show you that when you're hiring your vendors, if they're preferred vendors or if they know people, if they know that, there's some venues that you shot at a lot where the management and they give you leeway that they may not give another photographer. Hey,
Absolutely.
put your stuff here. Oh, you can stay here extra. Or you could do this. And I've been on that side because I've shot or I've given them business. And I think that we have to realize these relationships matter.
Yeah.
And I know a wedding is a one-time event. A lot of people don't have the chance, but if you hire vendors that have been doing it a while, and they have those relationships with those local venues.
Yeah.
And you just never know.
Right. Yeah, no, that's what's up, man. That's definitely what's up. So as far as the vendor selection, let's spend a little bit of time there, like with the vendor selection. I know we talked about it a little bit, but when you chose the vendors, you went on a heart. Was it anything else that you was looking at when you chose the vendors?
Obviously the product, the end result, right? So that was very big for me. It took a little bit of, and I will say, having it at the hotel took a little bit of things off, took a little off of it, because a lot of the things, some of the things that we would have had to consider, we didn't have to anymore because it was inclusive at the hotel.
Okay.
Right. So like the catering and that type of thing. So we didn't have to do any of that. So it was basically just photography, videography, design, cake, stationery, and planner.
Okay.
And so it wasn't a long laundry list of vendors. And then the other vendors were things that, our personal vendors for his attire, my attire, that type of thing. But so it wasn't a long list of vendors at that point.
Okay.
And once we kind of decided,
well, we interviewed some other vendors that we didn't go with too.
Yeah, no, we did.
Yeah, we did. So I think that, and some of it did do with price, and it was just that it wasn't that it was just outrageous. It just wasn't for us. We didn't feel that it was.
I don't know. I think, and I don't think even with some of the pricing, and again, like you just said about the venue versus the other venue, sometimes the pricing, could we have made that pricing work? Mm-hmm. Sure, we probably could have at the end of the day, right? Yeah. But hindsight and looking back on it, again, it still goes back to would I have had that same feeling,
right?
Because I'm the person that has to spend the most time with the planner, throughout the process, talking to them, being able to text them, call them. I was able to say, I'm having, I'm stressed out this week, and she like, whatever it might have been going on, and so it was just, those decisions were just very important.
And I work with a lot of planners. I mean, from Tiffany, our friends, and other people. Yeah. And I know that they spend a lot of time with brides. And I always hear them saying that if they don't jive with the bride, sometimes it could be a long year.
Oh, yeah.
Even if the month of, it could be a long 30 days.
So did y'all have a month of planner, or did you?
She was more a partial.
Okay.
So it wasn't a month of. She came on long before the month. Yeah. So because she was there back in March when we went to the first venue. So she was on for a while.
Yeah.
But
and having somebody was so important to me.
It was so
because I don't see a lot of people don't have planners.
Oh yeah,
I don't see
that all the time. That's a big thing. Like we had planners on the podcast, and the big thing is get a planner. And we had a couple on, because I like to get a lot of couples on to hear it from their side. Mm-hmm. And one of the couples was like, I could have saved so much money if I'd had a planner. She said, because having to pick from 5 or 10 different floral designs, the planner could have just bought me 3 or 4.
Right.
And I could have just chose that. And they could have bought things in bulk and got things in bulk, whereas though I'm calling the vendors and doing this and trying to do things. And she said a planner has all those connections.
Right.
So I advocate for wedding planners.
Yeah, no.
And she said at the time it was too much.
Right.
But after
the fact,
she said, I realized I could have saved more money if I would have had them.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
And so, by the time we contracted the planner, we had already decided on who was going to design, who was going to be the photographer. So she didn't have to help me scout any of that, but she was there to help navigate the processes, that led up to everything I needed to do.
Right.
And, as we got closer to the wedding, there were a few other vendors that we added on, like the saxophonist. Yeah. She was instrumental.
Big shout out to Lori too. Yeah. I'll make sure. Lori.
Right.
Lori. Yeah. We'll put her information in the show notes as well.
Events. Yeah. She helped so she helped me with the She helped me when I was looking for someone to style my hair, stuff like that. Where I was, I did my own due diligence on Instagram because I knew what I liked. Right. But then
it's good to have another.
But it's good to have, and some people, if I didn't get an immediate response, she was like, "Oh, I have this person's phone number. Let me text them."
Wonderful.
And so that those are the benefits to that, because they do have some connections that we wouldn't ordinarily have a direct in. So
right. So the guest count, like we talked about that a little bit earlier as well. I mean, we've been flowing. We've been kind of, I don't even have to ask because we've just been flowing, which is a great thing. But I just want to go back to the guest count. Both of you guys know a lot of people. And we had previous guests on that said, and wedding planners that said, you don't have to invite 250 people. You may just want to invite 150 or 100 people.
Connie will tell you about that.
So I want to talk about that a little bit. How did you narrow down the guest count? And also, when you narrowed it down, did you feel some kind of way about not inviting certain people?
Yes. Yeah. It was challenging. I know for me it was. I don't know about how you felt. Probably a little bit as well. But, I had to. So we started out. So, of course, when you start the list, it got everybody on there, right? And then you start washing it. Like, And then, I kind of had this formula, I would go through my phone, the history, right? When last time I talked to them? If I ain't talked to you this year, I'll see you at the cookout. Because this is not the cookout.
Right.
We talking $200 a plate. We can't do it like that.
Yes.
So that's where I was with mine. And then even for, it was the most challenging part probably for me outside of friends or family was my premature widows, right? Because they loved me so much. But I knew I couldn't invite all of them.
Right.
And so even for my bridal shower, I couldn't invite all of them. And so they threw their own bridal shower. And so I wanted to make sure that I was able to spend some time with them. And then I didn't want, and there probably are some that might be offended or wonder how the ones that did get chosen to come were chosen over whatever. But the relationships, are different with each one of them. And so, that was a little challenging for me. And even, I remember early on, he said, well, this one and this one, because I did so-and-so's wedding, or, there's a vendor. And I'm like, wait. What? What are we talking about? Because, you can't invite everybody.
She says it very nicely, but very forcefully, where I like, okay, let me get in line.
I'm like, you can't invite everybody.
Right.
You see how she is, right?
Yeah.
So Connie is very, she'll tell me.
She's direct, but she's nice with it.
Very nice with it. The kind of person will kill you with kindness. And
I'm just meeting her today. And I can tell she's very direct and very nice. She's direct, but she's nice with her directness.
But she's forward and she knows what she wants.
Right.
And she will tell me. That's one thing. She will, some women will be like, well, I don't know. No, it will be a yes or it will be a no.
Right.
Now, I don't know. It's for maybe food choices, but not for life choices.
Yeah.
I don't know for food choices.
Right.
But so I think with my list, I had my little Apple Notes and I had people on there. And it never was a big fight about it. But it was just like, Chip, now come on.
Because, there were people on the list, and then there were people that weren't on the list that I thought, and I'm like, well, you thought about maybe taking these people off and putting these people on? He was like, yeah, you're right. And I'm like, don't you think you should invite so-and-so? Yeah, you're right. Like that, because he had this.
I wasn't thinking forward. So you need a woman, like I said.
Yes.
Let me tell you, my business, I'm telling you, new levels with Connie. I did well alone. Let me tell you, I'm not alone, but I did well, for years with my business. But I know it'll go to another level when I have the support and when I have that push. But that was the thing that I needed to make sure, because I haven't done this in years, man. And I was just like, I was going to invite people on this list that I thought were politically correct. And I said, you know what? I need to listen to wisdom. and some stuff. So I think any list that you create is hard.
Yeah.
But you know, at the end of the day, it's one day.
Especially when you're trying to get it down to a certain number. And it is just one day.
Yeah.
It is.
And
But you
people
want
wanna
to
drop
make
off
sure
anyway.
that you know, it was important for me that I invited and that he invited the people that were not just coming to be onlookers or to be posting or just to say they were there or to be nosy, but they really were happy for this, right?
Right.
And so, and the same on my side, people that really loved us and wanted to support it and not just there because I just want to see it for myself, see if it's going to happen, you know, because you have those people.
Oh, yes.
That just want to be in the room, right? And so, you know, some of the people that he had initially wrote on there, and I'm like, who?
Yeah. And let me just, and this is just sidebar. Second marriages are tricky because your first marriage, everybody's like on the list. You know what I mean? Like everybody's like, oh, your parents' friends, you're this. Second marriage is when you're 40 and over, 50 and over. It's a little different because you're paying for this yourself. Our first wedding, our parents pretty much fitted the bill.
20s.
You're in your 20s, maybe your 30s. And it's like, okay, now this is a little different. And I think that you have more mature friendships and then you're seeing where you are with people and where you aren't with people, you know? And was just in a different circle. So I'm grateful that we went through this, but we didn't spend a lot of time on that. Because I've heard horror stories with people with their lists and fighting and fussing. And I'm not saying everything was perfect, but I don't remember getting, you know, I was a little irritated a little bit with some stuff, but nothing to where I was like, oh my God, you know, because at the end of the day, I'm like you, man, what's the bottom line? Yeah. Just give me the bottom line. How much it's going to cost with the liquor? You know, because I can't cut the liquor out, even though I wanted to, but I can't do it. Because you can't have a wedding without liquor. That's what they tell me, even though I didn't drink.
We didn't drink anything.
I didn't drink a thing. We didn't drink a thing.
But you know,
I didn't want to.
We had a couple on that. Their quote was, and we actually named the podcast that was plan for a marriage and not a wedding. And that like resonated with me, like, wow. And, you know, and they talked about how they were just going to say, forget it all, because the most important thing was them.
Them, right.
You know, they said, you know, the wedding is one day. And the most important thing of that
was after that.
Was correct. And she said, you know, a lot of people lose sight of that. Great interview with them, you know. So
and I'm so glad.
And I hear exactly y'all kind of saying the same thing.
Yeah,
you know?
I'm so glad. I feel like we never lost sight of that.
Right.
In the process. I mean, we work as much as Wednesdays were wedding Wednesdays. Some wedding Wednesdays weren't about the wedding. It was about the marriage. Yeah. It was about finances.
We had counseling.
We had counseling on Wednesdays.
Right.
So
we had counseling on Wednesdays.
We did 8 weeks of relationship counseling before the engagement.
Okay.
And then another 6 to 8 weeks of marriage counseling.
Okay.
During
once
engagement.
we were engaged.
Yeah,
so we did, and all of it happened on Wednesdays.
Right.
So Wednesdays wasn't just about the wedding; it was about the marriage. It was, you know, homework and studying and being, you know, intentional about making sure that we were giving each other what we needed or preparing ourselves for this. Right. You know, and it's been a blessing.
It's been easy because even though it's been less than a month, and we'll celebrate a month on Valentine's Day this year, but it's been easy. When I told Connie when we were together, like New Year's Eve, I was like, it just felt easy. I said it our vows.
He says it just feels like normal. Yeah, it really did. It really did.
Yeah, it didn't.
And I think it's the work that we've been doing throughout this whole process to get here. You know, we never push that to the side to say, oh, we want to have this fabulous wedding. No, we were intentionally on our counseling, and then in between, some Friday nights we were jumping on different Zooms and this, you know, relationship stuff. Like we've been pouring into the relationship and to each other, and being intentional about that, even the whole process. And he's been so good about that.
But weddings are, like I said, you said weddings are great, and I understand those, and we've done many of them, right? Yes. But what happens afterward? After it's going to be somebody else's wedding, The thing we used to say in the wedding industry, how many you got? Oh, got 5? Okay,
Yep.
got 3, got 2, got 6. And it used to be a bad job. Oh, you only got 4? I got 15. I got 4 just in June, So
that's exciting. Them big numbers is exciting when you first start.
Yes. Yes.
As you get more, as you get more mature in this thing, it's just like, just maybe 6 or 10 a year and I'm good.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I have 2
20
right now.
and 40.
Oh, that's what I used
You know
to
what I
do.
mean? That's what I'm saying. Like, it's a challenge.
What?
It's a challenge.
And and the thing about it, and when he said balance came in, what's so ironic is he's been to so many places and shot so many weddings and done all these things, right? But once we started dating and we revisited some of these places as a couple, it was like he'd never been there to enjoy himself.
Yeah, that's true.
Whether it be a winery, there were some resorts, some places. Yeah. So a lot of the places that we go, while he's been there before, he's never been there and not been working.
So there's a difference being somewhere as a vendor and being there to enjoy it.
So say that one more time. I want all the wives out there who got photographers as husbands, including mine.
Yes.
That when we go on these destination weddings, like in the episode number 2 with Kenny Clapp.
Yeah,
destination weddings is not a vacation.
It's not. It's not. People are, oh, you go to all these Mexicans. It's a one thing to go. You are working. You drop your equipment. You're making sure customs don't take anything.
Yep.
It's stressful because you don't get another chance.
Nope.
So what happens is that I've been to all these places in the Caribbean, Jamaica, all over the country. But when I go to these wineries, other stuff, I say, you know what? I've never been there just to enjoy it.
Yep.
I've been there. And Connie said that. And then we started going these places. And I'm like, wow, this is different.
It's different. He started taking off some Saturdays. And he's like, wow, I don't have any. We were going out.
Yeah.
Like really
I'm
going
so
out.
used to being booked on Saturdays.
Yep.
And I was like, wait a second. We're going just to chill. This is not normal. I'm not. What's going on?
Yeah.
But it didn't take long.
Oh, now
before
I'm like,
he got used to it.
I love it. I love it now. So I love it now. You get a little nervous because you're like, wait a second. I don't what's going on here. Right. I'm used to being in demand because you think that's tied. As men, sometimes our egos are tied to, you look, oh, I'm booked and busy. I'm booked and busy. Because that's what I'm used to being, booked and busy. If you're not booked and busy, right, you're like, oh, nobody don't want me. You feel some kind of way. I don't have no business, But that's how you feel, right? In your head, But it's just that when we went to those wineries, we went to those other places, because a lot of the venues that we looked at, I kind of vetoed just because I've been there.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, I like the Belvedere. No, I shot there 5 times.
Yeah, I don't like that place.
I want the Reginald F. Lewis Museum, or I want this other Renaissance horror. I said, no, I shot.
It wasn't until the end that he was like, okay, well, if you want to go see that place, because at that point we were like, we got to book something and we got like 5 days to book it. Because at this point,
so y'all was down to the wire.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We were in July,
we were in July,
getting married in January.
Wow.
So when we switched venues.
Yeah, we had already set a date and all that, and we had to find a place.
Right.
Yeah. So, yeah.
How many couples do you know? I want to book you, but I don't have a venue yet. Okay.
Yep.
Come see me once you have a venue.
Yeah.
Once you have a venue, that's where. And we already had our vendors.
Right. We switched
venue. Yeah, we switched venues and we knew how to do that. But thankfully that worked all together. When I shot that wedding, like I said, in July, and then I went back to Connie and we went back and we kind of gathered ourselves, and I knew that we could weather that storm, if you want to call it a storm. We could weather almost anything, because some people just, they can call it off or do it next year or do it in 2020.
Or change the date and all that.
Right.
But and it was so, I think God was in all of those changes, right? Because it's evident from the end result of what we got on the 14th that was the place. Even though we didn't see it initially, that's where we were supposed to be. Right. And even to go there at that late hour and be able to, and she's like, oh, the 14th is available. We were their first wedding of 2024. They didn't, yeah. And so it was there, and so just even those things, how everything kind of just lined up, it was just, it was where we were supposed to be, Yeah. So we just had to go through the little, to get there. Right?
Through the valley.
Yeah.
So Connie, tell us, we just got a couple more things to go over. I want to talk about the dress.
The dress.
Yeah, let's tell the couples out there, tell the brides out there a story about the dress.
She can go on about the dress.
The dress.
look at her. Make sure that camera's on her for that
the dress. So the dress. So I had done a lot of research on kind of designers and where I wanted to go. And at one point I wanted to, I knew I wanted to go to New York. I had 4 appointments in New York. One of those appointments being a place where I was like, I'm just going to go because I'm going to be in New York because I already know, because I'd already done a little research and I was like, woo! And they said what the minimum was. I'm like, yeah, So their minimum was my maximum at the time. So I was like, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, But I said, well, at least I'll go for the experience. So I had an appointment. I had 4 appointments that day. And
you took the train up.
I took the train up, but the train was delayed. So my first appointment, I had to move to the back. So what was intended to be the second appointment, which was at this dream place, ended up being first.
Okay.
Because they were able to move me around. So we get there. And it's just like a dream. It's like, you get out the car and I'm like, oh my God. And then the young lady opens the door and she's like, oh, are you Connie? And I'm like, yeah. And she says, okay, Essay will be right with you. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? So she was there. She's never in New York because she's from Dallas. So she was actually there. So I was able to meet her.
The person that made your dress.
Yes, the owner, the whole brand.
Right. Oh wow.
Yeah. So it was a whole thing. And so I got a chance to sit down and talk to her. I told her about premature widow. She was tearing up. She was, just telling me how, she was like, why wouldn't you expect that this would work out for you the way you pour into other people? We're going to make this work. She threw in some things. And even the consultant was like, wait, that never happens. And she said, I guess that's the benefit of having me here.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was perfect.
So you missed the train.
I missed
You had
the
to
train.
put one appointment back because of one other thing, and this one moved forward. And it just happens to be that the designer was there. Wow.
And I didn't go any place else. I canceled all the other appointments.
Right.
It was the experience of a lifetime. I mean,
Wonderful.
literally. I mean, it was. I can't even really put it into words. And the friend that I had with me you would have thought she was getting a gown too. I mean, from the boutique to the dresses, and then just being, because she does so many things for celebrities and all of that, and just to be this up close and personal. And then she was just so personal, telling us her story, how she got started.
Right.
I mean, she was just so sweet. And so, I'm like, and then I told her a few things that I wanted, and she's like, oh, well, I could just build that into the da-da-da-da. And I was like, oh boy. So yeah, it got to be, it was an amazing day, that first day. And every appointment after that was just as amazing as the first one.
Beautiful.
It was just, it was, I remember going back for the first fitting thinking, first fitting, it's going to be a shell. And no, they pulled
the actual
gown out. They pulled old girl out. And I was like, wait, I'm putting it on today? And they were like, oh yeah.
What?
And I go in and they put me all in it and corset me in and snatch me up. And my friends are out waiting for me. And I come out and all you can hear is, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Everybody's, oh my God. And I'm crying. And it was just freaking amazing.
Wow.
It was just amazing. It was amazing. And it fit like a glove first time out the gate. First time out the gate.
That is awesome. That is a beautiful story. Everybody crying, you crying.
I'm crying. Everybody's crying. I'm building relationships with the consultant, because I've just talked to them last week to send them the article and the pictures. And they're like, oh my God, Connie.
Yeah.
They're so excited, and then she even read the article and she emailed me back and said, I went back and read it again. I saw about your new husband going with you to your late husband's grave. And they were like, oh my God, you so deserve this.
Yeah.
This is so amazing. And so it was just an experience of a lifetime to be able to even have that. because I really didn't think I could, to be honest. I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna be able to spend that kind of money on no gown. But then, things worked out. But and it's just the craftsmanship, the way they made it. I mean, it was just made for me. Right. It was made for me. And in hindsight, I always say, and I told him this before, once we switched the venue, and I'd already made the decision on a gown, I was like, yeah, that gown can't go in that venue. This gown.
So who is the I want to make sure we put the information
S.A. Zenabor.
Okay.
Out of New York. She was from Dallas and New York.
Okay. And you know what's crazy?
What's that?
The couple that I had on right before y'all, same dress.
Yes.
Not the same dress, but the same
designer.
Yeah. And I was trying to find her name to put in the show notes. I couldn't spell her last name though.
Oh, yeah.
So you let me know before you leave.
Right,
so that way I can put it in both show notes.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow.
Yes.
Isn't that a coincidence?
That's
Same dressmaker. I mean, she was like,
she's amazing.
She said that she got hers from, she didn't meet matter of fact, she did. She did meet her.
Oh, wow.
Because she said nobody could, her dress was like a huge size, and she had to get it fitted down to I think a 10 or something. Okay. And nobody could do it. Nobody like here or Philly or nobody could do it. So she said she went to the dressmaker and
she had to go.
And that's, I think it's episode 5, I think.
She probably had to go to Dallas.
And she said that the lady essay. She said she cut the dress on her and stitched it on her.
Listen, let me tell you something. She is amazing. Okay. So I'm sure she had to go to Dallas because New York.
That's where she went.
I know that's where she went.
That's exactly where she went.
Because New York is just the studio. They don't make them there. Yeah. Even my gown, it got made in Dallas, and then they ship it back to New York for me. Right. So she told me, she said, I never meet New York brides because she's never in New York. Yeah. She said she only knows New York brides by their name on a paper. Yeah. She asked me, she said, Connie, are you saying yes? Like I have the video of her asking me, am I saying yes to the dress and all of that from her, not her staff. Right. And she's amazing. It's the craftsmanship, it's just
experience.
It's the experience. It's amazing.
Experience. We say a lot of stuff with luxury, and you hear that word thrown out a lot in this industry. But I think it comes to not only with the pricing, it comes with the experience, right? Yeah. So when you have an experience, when you go to a Four Seasons or you go to a resort, you know it's going to be pricey.
Absolutely.
But
you already know what you're going to get.
You know what you're going to get. Yeah. It's not going to be the same as going to a Holiday Inn. Not that a Holiday Inn is, I think one of your cameras just went off. I'm sorry. We've been talking so long.
It's all good.
But yeah, I just wanted to say that I think it's that, and that's experience that Connie has. And I'm so glad you had the experience.
Yeah. Definitely really a beautiful thing.
I'm thankful for that. Yeah. I'll never forget that. I'll never, ever forget it.
No, that's a beautiful thing. So yeah, when you get a chance, look at episode 5. She talked about, she went to Dallas, she met the lady.
Yep.
And talked about,
because if you go to Dallas, you're gonna meet her because that's where she is. That's the whole warehouse. That's
she said she had to go 4 times and this and that.
Yeah. And so that was another thing when I first found out about her and started following her, which I've been following her for a while, probably years, long before I even met Chip. Yep. I knew who she was. Yeah. But in my mind, I'm like, well, even if I ever thought about it, I'd have to go to Dallas. Then you gotta get fitted, gotta go back to Dallas. Yep. And lo and behold, all of a sudden, she opened up a salon on Madison Avenue in New York. Wow. Right after. We got engaged in January. I think she had her grand opening either February or something like that. She had just opened. Right. And I got an appointment. Wow. And the rest is kind of history after that.
That's amazing. Yeah, we're gonna definitely have to put our information in the show notes. Chip, how does it feel to be on the other side of the lens?
Yeah, it feels really, really good, actually. I mean, it didn't feel as nerve-wracking and I'd be a control freak. I think the engagement shoot helped me a little bit because I was more, kind of a little bit more hands-on for that, wasn't I? A little bit, kind of a little bit.
Yeah, he was a little... Not too much, but you know, he was doing a little directing.
Yeah, during engagement shoot, I was a little bit, but I think that after that, I was fine. Okay, and I think that I just want to enjoy the process. Yeah, and not be like, okay, use my lens. What are you shooting with? No, they know, they're professionals.
Yep.
Why am I going to tell them what to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to be in my moment with my bride, with my love, and enjoy every minute of it.
Yeah.
And I was fine with it. It feels good. It felt strange.
Yep.
It did. But it's one of those kind of things that I'm used to being in front of camera, but not used to being like the center of attention at a wedding or anything like that. But timing is everything, and God just let me meet an amazing woman. So I want to be there and be in the moment.
Yep.
So during a wedding, I wasn't like, what are they doing? Or what, at all. I was so chill.
He really was. He
was
wasn't
so
like,
chill.
oh, come get this shot. He just let them,
Do their
because
thing.
they were following us around anyway.
Yeah.
They know. First of all, they know
They know
RJ
it.
knows Chip.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, and we told them a few things that we wanted that were important. But by and large, they got everything,
Yeah,
you
right.
know, and more,
Right.
things that we didn't even, and so it was just, it was amazing. I remember one of the, and I think I told you this, but one of the things that was very memorable for me that day was because they spent a lot of their time with me, and he made that, he was like, I want you all to focus on her. So they were in my suite most of the time.
Yeah.
And so when RJ had left out, it was just Nate and I, and Nate asked me if I would read my vows so he could get the audio.
Yeah, for sure.
And so he took me in the room. We shut the door because two of my friends were in the other room. And I was like, well, you need to hurry and do this before Jaja get before this makeup, because it's going to be a whole problem.
It's going to be tearing.
So we did, and I read it, and, he stopped. When it was over, he stopped, and he was like, wow. And he said, you making me tear up.
Yeah.
And he was like, Connie, he said, you and Chip are made for each other. He's like, he's the one. He's a great guy. He's like, and you don't know how much hope you've given even me for a second chance.
Wonderful.
And so it was just a moment that Nate and I had, just the two of us in that space when, because by the time I finished reading it and then he started talking, I was done. I'm done.
Oh, I'm
so
sure.
I had, really gathered myself. But it was a special moment. And it wasn't just a special moment for me, but it was something that he got from it as well. Just, and so that was, it was just a testament to what this whole process and relationship has done and is doing for other people.
Right.
That are gone through either divorce or loss or whatever, just to see the coming together of two broken people to make one again,
Right.
and that is possible.
That's beautiful. That is beautiful. So the last thing I kind of want to talk about is, so since you guys you about to celebrate 1 month,
1 whole month,
God willing, right?
Yes.
And if you had to give couples out there that are listening any advice, you had to give them while you were planning, and even like what you've been through, what would be the three things? What would be three things that you would tell a couple that's planning and that has been through what you've been through?
So for planning, I would just say to have open conversations, right, about and about what you'd like, what he likes, and be open to compromise. Okay. It couldn't be everything Connie wanted, right? Because there were some things that were important to Chip as well, and even though he's been very gracious in this process to make sure I had what I wanted. And he would always say, I want this for you. I'm like, it's our wedding. It's our wedding. Like, even, he didn't have an issue with me getting this fancy designer gown, but then he was going to shortchange himself at one point on what he wore. And I'm like,
right.
It's your wedding too.
Yeah.
You get that suit from Stan Lyon and do what you want to do with it, Cause we I'm not gonna be standing up there looking like this and you gotta do something differently. No, because you don't have to, right? We can make this work. So, just be able to compromise, because listen, the compromising that you do in the planning phases is going to transition over into your marriage, because you got to be able to compromise, right? And so I think that's the first thing, to be able to do that, and then be honest about what it is you want versus, and then I didn't get all my wants, he didn't get all his wants, and that's okay too, right? But what we did do was zoned in on the things that were very important and made those things very special. Added in a surprise or two. Like originally we wanted a live band. We both wanted a live band. We were gonna have a live band. Well, that didn't pan out, right? But then when Lori, our planner, suggested the saxophonist, and he did the dinner hour, he did the room reveal, and that turned out to be great. Then I was able to surprise Chip, and for our entrance, we came in to go because I'm a PG County girl,
DC.
Yeah, and so Sugar Bear was there, as our special guest, to sing us in. And he didn't even know. He thought it was just the track playing until I pointed him out, and then he met us on the dance floor. So the crowd was in an uproar because he was there, But so we were able to add in the little things that were important. We didn't have a bridal party. I wanted a ballerina. So I was able to find that. And, so just being able to find those things that, if he has some things that are important to him, she has some things that are important to him, try to find a way to make those things happen. But if you can't make everything happen, that's okay, because you got to remember that it's about the two of you. Yes. Right. And so I think that's important on the planning side. And then on the marriage side and the life side, for me, I go into this marriage, with not only a grateful heart, but being very intentional about not taking Chip for granted. Right. Because I am very much aware of how fleeting life is, and how, I support a group of women who go to bed a wife and wake up a widow. Just like that. Oh my God. And so when you have lived that life, you don't take things for granted. You don't, and sometimes he can't understand why I'm sometimes so patient, or why, he like, you don't, if he don't put the ketchup back in the thing, it gets on my nerves. But I'm not gonna, I don't have.
She's not gonna die. I don't
have the time.
Right. She's not gonna die.
We don't have the time to waste on that, right? Because we all have a certain amount of time here. I only got a certain amount of time to love him. Right. I'm not gonna waste it arguing about what he didn't put back in the refrigerator. Yeah. And so I just want us to be mindful of the things that are really important. Yeah. And keep those things. And keep that on the forefront. Yeah. Because we can get caught up in, I saw this thing on Instagram this week. It was a Caucasian young man. He was talking about his grandmother, and he was saying, she said, he said he took her to his grandfather's grave, and she cried, and she said her regret was, she said she was so critical of him. And she wished that she could apologize. Right. And sometimes we can be so critical about every little thing, and not just women, but the husbands do it too. You didn't cook this right, you didn't do this right, or whatever. But you don't realize until you don't have anybody to criticize. Wow. That you've been a little bit too critical. And so don't take those things for granted. Don't take your spouse for granted. Don't take for granted that when they leave for work in the morning that you're going to see him in the evening. Because I represent a group of people that have gone through those things, and he left to go to work and never came back home. Wow. And so, or he went to sleep and didn't wake up. And so you got to be mindful of that. I'm mindful of every moment that we spend together, and my goal, even in marriage, is to continue to, I'm not going to stop saying it. I'm not going to stop speaking it. I'm not going to stop being a voice for a premature widow and for wives. So that, because a lot of times, my audience has been widows, but I have blessed and helped so many wives to become more grateful for what they do have. Right. Because we spend a lot of time talking about what we don't have or what he's not doing. Right. And, but you don't know until you've lost in that area just how much, it's the lonely, I always say widowhood is the loneliest place in the world. Right. And so don't take it for granted. Make your marriage a priority. The wedding is nice, it's beautiful, it's fun, it's all those things, but make your marriage and be intentional about your spouse. Right. And just love on them, and don't take it for granted. Kiss them before you leave. Let them know you love them. Tell them as much as you can, because we really don't know when the last time you'll be able to say that. Yeah. We assume we have all this time, but the reality is we don't know. And so cherish the time that you have, and cherish the people that you have. And I always say, because one day God gonna need them back. Right. Right. And we don't know when that day is. So.
But she said it. I don't need to say anything else.
So nothing to add. Okay.
Well, no. She says everything very perfectly. I mean, it's one of those kind of things with the wedding planning and with marriage. It's new, but it's a thing that is intentional, that as men, like I said on our vows, we make a decision to be married, right? We make a decision to stay married, and then we make a decision to work on our marriage all the time. And I think that's the thing with couples, because the fanfare after you close the album, we close and everything, and having a second chance and not worrying about everything else, what people think and what people, and being there. And it's one of those kind of things that we want to help as many couples as possible that have a second chance, because marriage is, as you know, you've been married for a long time. It's a ministry, it's tough.
Oh yeah,
it's tough. It's tough. It's tough. But when you surround yourself with the right people, put God first, like people say, and then you
have
do
people to
what
hold you
doing.
accountable, and they pour into you. You pour into them. We have that, and even like he mentioned early on, when he met me, he had never dealt with a widow. He didn't know any widows, widows, anything. But one thing I always say, and you may have seen this on his page, when right before he put up the one about being tired, he did one that said 5 things I've learned from being engaged to a widow. He studied widowhood. He studied widowhood. He studied it so that he would know how to love me in that space. And in doing that, he gives me the opportunity to. I got a message from a widow last week that said, I wish she was online. I have never met her in person. I wish I had your phone number, because she struggled with how to honor her late husband's birthday, but she's in a new relationship. And so those are some of the things that people don't necessarily understand, and things that I don't necessarily have to worry about, right? Because he's a big pusher of premature widow. He's very supportive, but he studies, he knows, my late husband's death date is on his calendar. He ain't booking nothing on June 23rd. If you got something on that day, it's not happening. Because he's not going. Because he's going to be where I am. And I just appreciate that so much.
And that doesn't take anything away from our relationship.
Right.
That don't, for me not taking anything on that date, if we go to the grave, we honor him. And this is her life. And like I put in that post, she can have space for that life and space for me. Her heart is enough to love both.
Right. And I mean, and to be honest, that the marriage, and then consequently his death, and all that I've gone through and had to heal from, it has made me who I am for Chip. And so I had to go through all that, because it grew me to a place that I didn't even know, and so it's for him to have studied it and to be so intentional about it, and to be so understanding of certain aspects of the grief. And because, some people think, oh, well, she's married now, so she never going to miss some more grief. Grief is still there.
Right.
It is still there. Yeah. There's still grief. There's always going to be grief. I have a daughter that's graduating from high school next year. I have children. I still have family members.
Right.
It's grief. I have memories. They don't go away, and, even getting married, leading up to that, there was some anxiousness and nervousness and, all of those things, the morning of the wedding, my mother-in-law, my late husband's mother sent me one of the most beautiful messages about my wedding day, tore me up,
right.
It's part of the journey.
Oh, yeah.
It's part of the journey. Right. But it has made me the woman that I am. And it's made me the leader that I am in my community of widows, and it helps them to see me for who I really am. And I'm very transparent with the ups and the downs. I mean, I feel like this is my prince, but let me tell you, I've been widowed 9.5 years. I kissed a lot of frogs. Okay, it's ghetto out here in these streets.
Oh yeah.
So, but I've been very transparent about that too, right? Because they ask those questions because they want to know. Because guess what? We say these things. I was one of the ones that said, "Oh, I'm never getting married again," Because here's the thing. It's not that you don't want to, it's scary, right? It's a risk, because there's a risk that I could be on this road again, right? Because we don't know, but no risk, no reward, right? And so we have to, everything is a risk.
Right.
Life is a risk.
Absolutely.
Love is a risk.
Yes.
And so it's a risk worth taking.
Yeah.
And, just as I'm taking this journey with him, I always say, if I had to do it all over again, despite all the pain that I went through, I would have done that all over again.
Right.
Because it was worth it. This is worth it to me.
It made you who you are now, like
it made
you said.
me who I am.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I mean, we could really keep going and going and going and going. I don't even know how long we've been going.
I'm not gonna tell you.
We have covered so much. Like we've covered planning your wedding. We've covered it's okay to be a widow and how to handle that and how to be a photographer and plan a wedding. And we covered so much. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to list it all. You know, we've covered a lot of ground. I'm telling everybody, you better listen to this episode here. We'll try to get it out as soon as possible. It'll be on YouTube for video, and it'll also be on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the places where you get your podcast at, Google Podcasts, everywhere where you get your podcasts at. So please tune in. This is a great episode, and it was so much learned here. And you know, any widows out there, this episode right here is good for y'all as well. So there you have it. You guys got anything else y'all want to leave with?
Just thank you for having us in our story. We're want to make sure that we encourage people not only on the wedding planning, but on the marriage side, that we're blessed. We're very blessed to be here.
Absolutely.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
There you have it. Thank you for tuning in. If you've been here this long, we appreciate it. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.